You are not bloated because you eat salad, but because your body is trying to tell you a truth that has been buried for decades. When clean food meets an old digestive tract, what is really happening inside? My name is Ethan Marshall, a 60-year-old physician from the United States, and I want to begin with a truth that may make many people uncomfortable. Many of us are not getting sick because of what we are eating today, but are paying the price for what we have eaten over the past 40 to 60 years. If you are watching this video and have ever felt your stomach become bloated and uncomfortable just from a plate of salad or a few bites of raw vegetables, pause before jumping to conclusions. Before we go further, if you care about natural health and perspectives the few people dare to say out loud, please subscribe to the channel, hit like, and share this content. Your support helps me continue creating honest, in-depth, and meaningful insights for the community, especially for those in their 50s, 60s, and beyond. Over many years of working with older patients, I have noticed a recurring pattern. Someone decides to live healthier and starts eating salad, raw vegetables, or fresh fruit. The intention is good, but after just a few days or few meals, they return confused. Abdominal pressure, bloating, even mild shortness of breath. Most people's first reaction is to blame themselves for choosing the wrong foods. They tell me their bodies are not suited for raw eating, that raw vegetables are too cold, too heavy, or simply not appropriate for older adults. This is the critical point where I want you to stop and think. That discomfort is not necessarily a sign that you are doing something wrong. It may very well be a sign that you have just touched a problem that has existed silently inside the body for a very long time. Look at the reality. Most of us grew up on diets heavy in refined carbohydrates, meat, dairy, and processed foods. These foods do not simply disappear after a meal. They leave traces in the digestive tract for decades. By the time many people reach their 50s or 60s, the colon resembles a storage room full of old items that has never been thoroughly cleaned. When you begin introducing fresh, living foods, the reaction that follows is not because the new food is harmful, but because the internal environment is already overloaded. Blaming salad or raw vegetables is a simplistic but misguided interpretation that causes many people to give up too early on their health journey. I want you to ask yourself one very simple question before we continue. Is bloating when eating raw foods caused by the food harming you, or by your body trying to tell you something? And now, I invite you to participate by commenting your choice. A. I believe the problem lies in the food I am eating. Or B. I am beginning to think the problem already existed in my digestive tract beforehand. The true cause of bloating when eating raw foods lies in the condition of the digestive tract itself, especially the colon, which has been silently accumulating and changing for many years. In most adults and older individuals, the colon is no longer a smooth passageway, but has become a space filled with old waste, long-adhered mucus, and prolonged fermentation zones. These accumulations form from diets high in refined carbohydrates, animal protein, and processed foods, which are difficult to fully break down and tend to leave residue behind. When raw foods enter the body, especially those rich in natural enzymes, living water, and coarse fiber, they do not remain passive in this environment, but activate physiological processes that have long been sluggish. Enzymes increase breakdown activity, fiber stimulates intestinal movement, and this new motion stirs up layers of old waste clinging to the intestinal walls. As a result, gas pockets that have been trapped for long periods are released, while fermentation that had been smoldering quietly now intensifies briefly, producing bloating and pressure. It is important to emphasize that this gas does not originate from raw vegetables or fresh fruit themselves, but from the decomposition of pre-existing residues. In a clean and open colon, the same raw foods typically do not cause significant discomfort. Conversely, in a congested environment, anything that increases movement and breakdown can make trapped gas more apparent. This process can be compared to clearing a pipe that has not been used for a long time. When flow is restored, deposits and compressed air shift, creating noise and pressure before the system stabilizes. From a physiological standpoint, this is a predictable response when a digestive system that has been frozen for years is suddenly reactivated. Understanding this mechanism helps avoid confusing cause and effect, and explains why the same raw diet may feel uncomfortable at first, but become easier as the intestines gradually clean and adapt. The role of raw foods in this context should be understood correctly as a factor that supports the body's self-regulation, rather than a cause of dysfunction. Living foods, especially green vegetables and fresh fruits, carry natural enzymes, living water, and intact fiber structures, elements designed to interact directly with the human digestive system. When they enter the intestines, they do more than provide nutrients. They stimulate functions that have declined over time. Enzymes support breakdown. Fiber applies gentle mechanical pressure to the intestinal walls, and living water helps soften the internal environment. This combination encourages the digestive system to operate more actively, much like a system that has been underused and is now being switched back on. In the early phase, when old residues are still present, gas production and bloating may appear as secondary effects of the cleansing process. However, as progression continues and buildup is gradually removed, intestinal rhythm becomes more regular, and these reactions typically decrease in both frequency and intensity. Many people experience discomfort during the first few weeks, then notice a lighter abdomen, more regular digestion, and less gas even while continuing the same raw foods. This reflects the nature of living foods as catalysts, revealing the true state of the digestive tract before bringing about a new balance. This perspective aligns with imagery used in classic natural health literature, where raw foods are compared to clean water flowing through a dirty system. At first, they stir up sediment, but through that very process, the system becomes clearer. Once adaptation is complete, raw foods fulfill their proper role of nourishing cells, supporting elimination, and maintaining long-term digestive stability, rather than continuing to cause transitional discomfort. Practical and safe solutions for bloating when eating raw foods must be built on the principle of supporting gradual adaptation, rather than placing additional stress on the digestive system. First, continued care and cleansing of the colon plays a foundational role, because as the internal environment improves, uncomfortable reactions naturally decrease. Cleansing here does not imply sudden or extreme intervention, but the maintenance of regular elimination supporting practices that limit new accumulation and allow detoxification to proceed gently. Alongside this, portion size should be adjusted appropriately during the early stages of a raw food diet. Reducing the amount eaten at each meal helps the digestive system process food more effectively and prevents overload while intestinal movement is being reactivated. Eating slowly and chewing thoroughly are also critical, as this mechanical process reduces the burden on the intestines and limits gas formation during digestion. In terms of food selection, prioritizing easily digested vegetables such as cucumbers, lettuce, or ripe tomatoes allows the body to become accustomed to raw textures without excessive stimulation. Vegetables with tougher fiber or more complex structures should be introduced later, once digestion has stabilized. This stepwise approach enables gradual adaptation rather than forcing the body into a strong reaction from abrupt change. It is also important to avoid the mindset of judging effectiveness based solely on initial reactions. In many cases, increased bloating is a sign that adjustment is underway, not a signal to immediately return to previous eating habits. Instead of eliminating raw foods entirely, temporarily reducing quantity, modifying vegetable choices, or allowing more time for adaptation often leads to more stable results. This approach aligns with safety principles in natural health care, particularly for older adults, where the body's adaptive capacity must be respected and supported appropriately. When these solutions are applied consistently and patiently, the digestive system has the opportunity to restore its natural physiological rhythm, gradually reducing discomfort and opening the way to the long-term benefits of a raw food diet. The conclusion of this entire issue must rest on a clear and consistent understanding. Bloating when eating raw foods is not evidence that living foods are harmful, but a signal that the digestive system is entering a phase of adjustment. When this phenomenon is viewed as part of a physiological process rather than a failure or negative reaction, the approach to health becomes more proactive and sustainable. Assigning blame to raw foods often leads to hasty decisions, causing many people to revert to old eating patterns that contributed to the original congestion. By contrast, understanding that discomfort is a temporary expression of cleansing and adaptation allows for greater patience, more appropriate adjustments, and avoidance of the common cycle of trying, quitting, and frustration. The core message here is the necessity of opening the way for the body to complete its inherent functions. When properly supported, the digestive system is capable of reestablishing internal order, gradually reducing buildup, and restoring stable physiological rhythm. Raw foods, in this context, serve as an activating tool rather than an object of judgment. When elimination pathways are clear, the very foods that once caused discomfort in the early stages become gentle sources of nourishment that sustain long-term balance. Accepting the transitional phase as a natural part of change allows health to be viewed from a long-term perspective rather than being judged by immediate sensations. This is especially important for older adults, where all bodily adjustments require time and appropriate support. The final conclusion is not about choosing the right or wrong food, but about creating the right conditions for the body to function effectively in its current state. When blame is removed from the cleaner and attention is placed on opening the door and maintaining a balanced approach, digestive recovery can proceed in an orderly and sustainable manner, laying the foundation for lasting lightness, stability, and health. Bloating when eating raw foods, especially in middle-aged and older individuals, is not a random occurrence nor a sign that the body is incompatible with natural foods. The entire discussion shows that it is the result of a long process of accumulation within the digestive tract, where the colon has become accustomed to stagnation and retention. Raw foods, with their natural enzymes, living water, and fiber, do not create new problems, but reveal what already existed. In the initial phase, gas and pressure may appear as part of the adjustment process, but as the internal environment improves, these reactions often subside, giving way to a sense of lightness and greater stability. The overarching message is a shift in perspective. From blaming food to understanding and supporting the body's process of self-cleansing and adaptation. The lesson drawn is that health cannot be built on rushed decisions or judgments based on short-term reactions. In practice, the key is to move step by step, patiently adjust portions, choose foods appropriate to each stage of adaptation, and maintain digestive care as a long-term foundation. This approach helps avoid the cycle of trying and quitting, while allowing the body to restore its natural physiological rhythm. Do you think bloating when eating raw foods is a sign to stop, or a reminder to adjust and be more patient? Please share your perspective respectfully in the comments. If you want to explore this topic more deeply, fill out the form in the description to receive a Healing Health ebook. Also, subscribe to the channel, hit like, and share this video to support the channel in continuing to deliver valuable and practical content to the community.